Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Hi there, thank you very much for tuning in to the Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and joining me this week to look ahead to a great weekend of fixtures is Mark Langdon and James Milton from the Racing Post, and we've got Paddy Power's Mal Rooney. Now then, I reckon this is the easiest weekend of the whole season. Every single game's going, I fancy them, I'm going to lay them. But Mal says it's the hardest weekend. Mark, what do you think overall?
Middle?
Average?
Medium? Medium.
Can't even agree on that. What about you, James?
I'm fairly bullish. Not as bullish as you are in your Racing Post column
bullish
today, but yeah, fairly bullish.
I'm so bullish, which always leads to a disaster. But we will get to the match previews and tips soon. Before that, we'll do the 6 questions. The lads get asked 2 each and then get to answer the one they wish they'd been asked. Mark, we'll start with you. VAR, are you a fan or is it a foe?
It's a foe, definitely. Nothing from last night changed my mind on that, really. It wasn't a good night for it, particularly. See, for me, it's the Atletico Madrid-Juventus game that sort of did it for me, in that there was a debatable foul on Chiellini. Chiellini definitely made the most of what was a slight push, but it's just the way the crowd erupt, the noise, Morata's off celebrating, and then, and after countless looks at the replay, it's called off, and that to me is just the real sort of bugbear with VAR, is the way it's going to just kill you, just temper that joy you get when there's a goal go in. And of course, in sort of sports maybe like NFL, where they use it, or cricket, and rugby, the high scoring games. Football, that may just be the one moment. In these other sports, there tends to be a lot more action. That could be just that one moment that you spent the whole game waiting for, and it just ends.
Yeah.
And for that's what I don't enjoy about it.
The Otamendi one was even worse, I thought. I mean, you couldn't tell whether it was a pet. Well, I thought it just wasn't a pet.
No, I think as well, it's one
wasn't
where...
even one of them.
Well, no, but it's become a new one of them, where in a slow motion replay, I think it probably looks like more of a penalty than in the cold light of day. And then you've got Peter Walton on BT.
He was appalling.
It's absolutely
useless. Up,
he
did.
That
top lip, there were beads on it as he realised he was backing himself into
and then, they got to a situation where the referee couldn't even tell for himself because the monitor wasn't working.
And yet, Mark, out of all this chaos, you get people on Twitter going, no, it's great, no, it'll get quicker. Why will it get quicker? What's going to happen to make it quicker?
No, it is what it is. I mean, referees get, was it 98% of decisions correct? I mean, we're arguing improving them by 1%. Doesn't feel worth it to me.
No, Danny Baker is brilliant on everything to do with on Twitter, but on VAR he's absolutely superb. And he said, football is 90 minutes of mayhem, and along comes VAR like a parent at a party. I love that. James, on to more football-centric matters. What did you learn from the Champions League this week?
I think I learned that I'm still not quite sure about that. The 0-0 in the first leg away from home, and whether that is a good result or not.
I'm sure Pauline has said one way or the other whether it's...
Yeah, he probably has. Yeah.
Kevin Pauline's article in Friday's Racing Post will determine that.
Okay, he's writing about it, is he? Well, there you go then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll put me out of my misery. But I'm on Liverpool outright, and so you're thinking, you want to be winning the home leg, particularly as their away form in the Champions League has been poor. But having said that, you just think, Bayern are going to struggle to shut them out again away from home, and so it is a very finely balanced tie.
It is, isn't it? I think it's pretty much a pick-em there to qualify. Mal, what's the latest Champions League betting?
Just in the outright.
Yeah.
So Man City are 11-4 favs now. Barcelona is second in the betting at 11-2. PSG also 11-2. Then there's a jump to Real Madrid at 9s, Atletico at 10s. Liverpool have gone out to 10s. Bayern Munich 10s, and Spurs and Juventus 12s and 14s, Bar.
Okay. Right then, Mal, your question. Did the Paddy Power football trading team cheer or cry when Sterling banged in that City winner against Schalke? Was that a good result or a bad?
I was actually in, and I haven't backed them. So for me personally, it was a bad result. But it wasn't like we didn't lose as much as you would have expected on the game itself. I mean, anytime a Fav goes behind like that, especially such a blatantly, 130 I think to win off of the match, such a strong Fav goes behind and then comes back and wins late, it is quite costly. But because Juventus were so heavily backed in the other game, surprisingly, a lot of the money was on actually doubles between the two. So Atletico Chin and Juventus would have had us in the green, and then the City result was poor, but it wasn't as poor as it would have been on another night, really.
What did City go out to when they were down to 10? I think they were out to about 20-1, weren't they?
To 20-1, yeah, after they got the red card. So
and would you see much interest there, or did everyone think that was game over?
I would have thought we would have saw more, to be honest with you. I mean, if I don't know the reason for it, if it had been a league game and that was going on, like say they were away to a weaker team in the Premiership, or a game that they go off 130 away from home in the Premiership, you would have laid an awful lot more of them than we seemed to lay last night. I don't know, was it because people seem to think, well, they weren't playing well for a start, that was one thing, and they didn't really look for large parts of the game like they were going to come back and win. But I think just the fact that they were going to have the return leg at home, and people probably just thought they were going to crease them at home anyway, that might have been a deciding factor in it. But we definitely didn't lose anywhere near as much as I would have anticipated.
I didn't see the final numbers, but during the afternoon on our website, the sort of read numbers were roughly the same for the Man City game and the Atletico Juventus one, whereas see the previous night, a lot more people reading Liverpool against Bayern. So I do wonder if maybe there was because it was such a good game, the other one, that maybe there weren't as many people tuned in to the Man City game.
Interesting. Mark, we're going to cover this weekend's Premier League games shortly, but obviously we've got a bonus next weekend, Tuesday and Wednesday. There's a full Prem programme. Have you had a little gander at the prices? And if so, what's your best bet?
Yeah, I mean, I would say really, I'd be looking to take on Chelsea against Tottenham in that game that's on the Wednesday. Just think that Chelsea they've got the cup final on Sunday, and that whatever happens there, I can't see it being a positive for what's going to happen on Wednesday. If they win, they're going to have to put in such a massive effort that to sort of come out again against a Tottenham team that's had the 24 hours extra rest. Kane will be back. There's a chance that Dele Alli will be back as well. And then there's also the very real possibility that they get stuffed in the cup final. And they're scratching. I mean, Zola's in charge or whatever for that game on Wednesday, and we've seen Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has managed to, to pick up Manchester United. But it doesn't work very often that just bringing back any old person. And I think there's a real possibility that Sarri's not the coach, come that game against Tottenham. And of course they've got a reasonably big game on the Thursday, whereas Tottenham have had a good old break, so they'll be able to go into this Burnley and Chelsea sort of get games in,
And they're a better side, arguably.
Yeah, arguably. I mean, they lost 2-1 there in the League Cup, and I thought they deserved to lose 2-1. But that was a team that was missing Son as well, so that was probably one too many. Okay.
Well, James, we're sticking with Sarri for you. What should Chelsea do? Should they sack him or keep him? Before you tell us, Mal, I think, has some sack race prices.
Yeah, so Sarri is the clear and obvious fav here at 1-4, and I mean everyone after that is kind of much of a muchness, but I think the general feeling is if anyone's going to go, it's going to be him, and it's going to be quite soon as well.
Okay, what would you do if you were Bruce Buck or Roman Abramovich?
I mean, I fear for Sarri that the next kind of 3 games are going to make the decision for Chelsea. As Mark's mentioned, they've got the cup final against City, which I really can't see them upsetting the odds in, and then that tough game against Tottenham. So I think he will go pretty imminently. But having said that, I just don't get the idea behind appointing a guy who is going to has a kind of style of his own and is going to need time to kind of get that over to the players, and then kind of 8-9 months later he's already under pressure.
They started fine, didn't they, James? 8 wins and 3 draws from their first 11, and everyone was saying, "Oh, Sarri ball's the future."
Yeah. I mean, they were probably a bit flattered by that run. Arsenal were flattered by their long unbeaten run as well. It's but yeah, if he's the right guy for the job when you appoint him in the summer, then I don't really see. I mean, he's not helped himself by kind of publicly blaming the players. I think he could have been a bit smarter there. But in general, it's just not it's just not the route to long-term success, is it?
It's not. And I love the way that the people who make these appointments they fire them, and then no one points the finger at them for making all these bad appointments. Incredible, isn't it? Right then, Mal, your question: which trophies will Man City win this season?
I think they'll do the domestic treble. I think they'll win the league, and it'll be close, but I think that they'll just edge it. I think they'll win comfortably on Sunday against Chelsea, and I just think they've got enough about them to win the FA Cup as well. They've gone odds on now. I think United might struggle in the away trip to Wolves. And I mean, other than that, there's still a few weak teams in it. I know Palace are probably one of the better teams that are left in it, but I mean, Man City aren't going to fear playing any of these sides. It might come a little bit at once if they're still in all the competitions. Obviously, the AFL Cup will be over on Sunday. Like, I don't know, their squad is just, they have such depth, they probably won't struggle with it as much as any of the other English teams would. But I think they'll win the three. I just think they're a little bit suspect in the Champions League. I wasn't impressed with them last night again, and it is a wide open competition, but against the likes of Atletico, even, who played very, very well last night, I mean, I think they could struggle massively in games like that. So I think they're a little bit away from winning the Champions League just yet.
What price are you, the quad?
12 to 1 to win all four.
12 to 1?
Yeah.
Interesting. And what's the treble?
The treble is...
moved on to another screen, haven't you?
Yeah. The treble is 3 to 1.
3 to 1. Okay. Mark, which question are you going to answer?
I'll take the Sarri one. I mean, I don't think Chelsea have got too much option now, other than
could they go now?
Well, they could do.
If you put a new man in and he wins the cup, then he's the greatest.
Well,
if he doesn't, everyone's well, fair enough.
I still think that they're hoping that Sarri can turn it around, and if you win the League Cup, I think that buys you the rest of the season, and then you can have a look at it. And if they lose, then they probably feel like they're more than justified themselves. But I mean, I loved his football at Napoli. We're not seeing his football at Chelsea at all. Either the players can't get it, or they're not good enough. But he turned a lot of them Napoli players into kind of what they are now. I mean, Carrion, Mertens, they weren't sort of recognised, I don't think, as much as what they are now. But if he can't get his ideas across, it looks absolutely terrible. I mean, what they're playing now, I mean, if you hadn't seen Napoli, I think the Chelsea fans are within their rights to say, well, this is rubbish. I don't want to sit there and just watch this football that's going absolutely nowhere. He said in his press conference yesterday, the reason Jorginho is playing in the position he is because he wants fast passes from that position. He's not getting fast passes. They're really easy to defend against. I think there is a Italianness to Sarri that's making it difficult for him. He's always been quite aggressive, with the media and in them sort of press conferences, and I don't think that the fans have warmed to him particularly. I don't think the players have, and Chelsea do this. They do sack their managers, and they don't get any worse. And somebody else could come in and improve them.
Who should come in?
He should have stayed. Well, he should have stayed at Napoli. Because he was building something there. Who should come in? I think Zidane.
Early for Frank.
Yeah, I mean, I saw Derby on Wednesday against Millwall. They were atrocious. They were absolutely atrocious. They had one shot on target in the 90-odd minutes and they lost 1-0.
Funny that, because they can look so good, can't they?
Yeah, no, they definitely didn't. I think that Hazard is probably the most important person at Chelsea, more important than the manager. And Zinedine Zidane's got a really strong... Hazard sees him as his idol. So your best chance of keeping Eden Hazard is to bring in Zidane. I think that's more important than who is the actual manager.
Okay, James, which question are you going to take?
I'm going to go to VAR, please, Bruce.
Okay.
I think maybe it will kind of get the odd decision right that the referees don't. But I think Mark's quite right. I think it just takes away some of the soul of the game, doesn't it, really? And you're beginning to realise actually just what a nuanced game football is. You see it in cricket, and it's and it works pretty well, because if you trust the technology of the ball tracker and whatever and Snicko, then you can't really argue with that. But in football, you have a replay, and there's still going to be kind of 50-50 split on some of the decisions. So I think it's probably not bringing too much to the party, really.
football is all about that orgasmic moment when your team scores a goal. That's what it is, basically. And if you are never able to fully celebrate because you're always worried that VAR is going to chalk it out, then it just kills that.
Even at the end of an Ashes Test match or something, and the number 11 reviews an LBW when he's absolutely has broken his toe in front of middle stump. Yeah, it takes a little bit away from it, but for football, it's even far more than that. Yeah.
I remember the Dele Alli goal against Arsenal as a Spurs fan. That should have been brilliant, but I was convinced he was offside, and it was very tight, and so I probably didn't celebrate the goal like I would have done. And that's the whole point.
The essence of it. Okay, Mal, what are you going to answer? Which one have you got for us?
I completely agree with the sentiments on VAR. I think it takes a lot away from the game. But learnings from the Champions League, one thing I thought last night was apparent. Juventus haven't been in great form lately, and they would have been a pretty hot pick for the Champions League when they signed Ronaldo. But I was pretty disappointed again by Allegri in the competition. Like, I think he's a brilliant manager, and domestically they're cruising and they're winning the league every year at a canter. But when it comes down to like the fine moments sometimes in the Champions League, Simeone brought on Morata, Lamar and Correa, and Allegri was just sitting there in the dugout. Like, it didn't look like he knew what exactly he wanted to do. He almost seemed a little bit surprised, and I just don't think a manager with his experience with that good of a team should have been caught on the hop like that, and inevitably it ended up costing them the match. So I think one learning I would have taken from the Champions League would have been that Juventus might have probably arguably the best squad in the competition, or one of them anyway, but I don't think that they're going to win the competition with Allegri at the helm now. I did think it before, and I've kind of lost faith in them completely. So
who do you like now then, Mel?
I'm on PSG, but like I think it's wide open, to be honest with you. I'm on PSG from earlier in the year, but not at a huge price. But I mean, I think PSG could win it, Barca could win it, City obviously have a run, Atletico have put themselves in the mix now. I would like to be on PSG if I had to pick between them, because I think they're almost home and hose against United in this tie, but I really think it is quite open, and it's just going to come down to probably a couple of one-off games and maybe a handy tie.
Yeah, VAR or a bit of luck. Mark, are you going to stick with City?
Well, I think City are the most likely winners. I mean, I went for Real Madrid at the start of the knockout phase, and they're almost through as well, and they can just give up on La Liga. It's finished for them. Just when they've had big... I mean, you see they beat Atletico 3-1, and you see how difficult a game that was by the fact that Juve didn't create anything, were deservedly beaten 2-0, and if anything, it could have been worse for them. So Real Madrid, in big moments, and this is maybe where City need to prove themselves, in big moments, Real Madrid, no matter what goes on before or even during, they just seem to always be there. So, I mean, I think that they've got sort of as good a chance as sort of most others, really.
Okay. James?
I put up Juve, unfortunately. I think they're obviously in big trouble now. Yeah, Mark makes a great case for Real, always there or thereabouts. Not giving up on Liverpool yet either.
Okay, we've got 2 Friday Premier League games this week, unusually. One's on telly, one isn't. The one on telly is West Ham versus Fulham. Let's do that. It's on Sky Sports at 7:45. And Mal, how do Paddy Power bet on this one, please?
So West Ham are odds-on favourites at 5-6. The draw is 11-4, and Fulham are 16-5.
Mark, what's going to happen here?
One where I do agree with you, Bruce. I know you like West Ham. I think they're fair enough. They are inconsistent, but this is mainly anti-Fulham. 2 away points. Ranieri seems to... he's definitely not improved them by as much as what I think they were hoping, and not playing Sessegnon and Kearney and players that actually care about the team, I think is making them worse now. It takes a lot really to get the Fulham fans as angry as what they have been, but they're sort of more disappointed with Ranieri than they ever were with Jokanovic.
Throwing off their tartan knee blankets and shaking their flasks in anger, aren't they?
Yeah, the clappers, they're not clapping them, are they, anymore? They're just a team that seem to have, the players that are there purely for the money. They're not there, they don't care. And they've been terrible for nearly the whole season. I mean, on this pod, we've tried to give them, most of the season the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, they concede too many goals. Apart from Mitrovic, I don't think they've they've created enough either, really, and they look very average in midfield. So West Ham shouldn't have to be that good to win. 2
away points all season for them. Do you think they can get any more here, James?
I don't. I like West Ham and over 2.5 goals actually in this one. It's about 13-8, so a bit more juice than the odds-on quotes. And that's copped in 7 of their 9 Premier League wins this season. And you just look at the way Fulham have defended all season long, and West Ham, the team news looks like a kind of perfect storm. All their injury-prone strikers and attacking midfielders seem to be available, so they could line up.
They got Payet back as well. I mean, everyone, Lanzini's back, isn't he?
Could line up kind of 2-3-5 or something.
Yeah, even Jack, I think, has got off his sick bed, hasn't he?
Yeah, it could be fantastic.
I forgot about it.
I think Wilshere is in contention.
Yeah, Lanzini, Nasri, Wilshere. It's So I expect plenty of goals and most of them from the Hammers.
How about you, Mal?
Yeah, I complete the trio. Yeah, I've had a pretty big bet on West Ham here as well. Like Fulham are probably my flops of the season. I was really disappointed with them, and even 6-7 weeks in, you're kind of like they'll come good, and they just never did. I mean, 0-2-11 in their 13 away games is outrageous. So West Ham are inconsistent, but like as the lad said, I don't think they're going to have to be great to win this one. So West Ham and the straight win for me. That's
great use of outrageous. It is. I mean, they actually, honestly, I watched them against us the other week, and towards the end they turned it in. Some of them, it was a disgrace. It was an absolute disgrace.
Their worst defender is, but like they seem to one game each. Like Ream won't play very well, and Doyle will have a nightmare.
Terrible.
Yeah, the amount of individual errors they've had all season.
Absolutely pathetic. And they're not getting a lot of protection either. It's just camp comedy bandbox back there, as Neil Warnock once brilliantly called it. Cardiff versus Watford, talking to Neil Warnock. That kicks off at 7:45 on Friday because there's some egg chasing in Cardiff on Saturday. So what's the latest betting on this one?
Cardiff are 2-1 at home. The draw is 12-5, and Watford are 13-10.
Another easy one, James.
I'm quite sweet on both these sides actually. I've been really impressed by Watford this season.
Both teams to win. That'd be an interesting new market, wouldn't it?
But I mean, Cardiff's home form particularly has been terrific. They've conceded 7 goals in 9 games against teams outside the Big Six. So I think they can really frustrate Watford, and I like the look of 0-0 at half time at 7-4. Watford had that ridiculous game at Bournemouth a few weeks ago when it was 3-3 at half time. Since then, in 5 games, there's only been 2 first half goals, and I don't expect Cardiff to make it easy for them at all.
Okay, and talking to 0-0 at half time, by the way, big up to Mark Langdon, who pointed out that we could be going back to the days of attritional, cagey first legs, and 7 of the 8 Champions League round of 16 matches were 0-0 at half time. Mal, who wins out of Cardiff and Watford, if anyone?
I've gone for a draw as well, so I kind of agree with the sentiments there, James. And Cardiff around even money now to be relegated, so they're really going to have to ramp up their performances if they're going to stay up. Watford don't really have as much to play for. Cardiff have won 5 of their last 9 home games, and I think this is a game they can get a point out of. But I just don't think they're great. Like, they're good at frustrating teams and stuff like that. I just think they might struggle to score. So I've actually gone for under 2.5 goals at 5-6 and a small bet on no goal score at 9-1.
And Mark?
I think the draw probably the best of the 3 match result bets here. I mean, Watford, for all the fact that they have been impressive and they're in the FA Cup quarter-finals, 4 wins in the last 16 Premier League games doesn't fill me with great joy. But their last 3 defeats in the league have been to City, Chelsea and Tottenham. So I think that does really point towards a draw. And Cardiff are decent at home.
Won't be pretty, will it?
Wouldn't have thought so. Glad it's not on TV.
OK, 3 votes for the draw. We don't get that. Let's see what the lads make of Saturday's games next.
Right, 10 seconds to promote Paddy Power Games. Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games, Paddy Power Games. Advertising. It's easy when you know how. Paddy Power. Enough of the nonsense. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast. We are looking first at the Saturday lunchtime game at 12:30 at Turf Moor. It's Burnley versus Spurs. It's on Sky Sports and Paddy Power Bet as follows.
Burnley had the 4-1 underdogs at home. The draw is 13-5, and Spurs are 8-13 favs.
And Mal, we stick with you. What do you fancy?
I think this could be a cagey enough one early on. Burnley have quite a poor record against the top sides, really. It's hard to see much changing here. Spurs have been in pretty good form considering a lot of the absences that they have. I'm not overly keen on backing them at the price is the only thing. I think that Burnley sitting back and soaking up pressure, which is what I would expect them to do, might make it difficult for Spurs to actually break the deadlock. I think it could be just maybe a moment of class from either Son or Eriksen that makes a difference. So I've gone for a bit of an unusual mark. I've gone first goal after the 27th minute, which is 11-10. And also in our prop bets, Christian Eriksen scored direct free kick at 20s. 10 of his 63 goals for Spurs have actually been free kicks.
Oh, I like that. That sounds very big. Mark, I mean, we talked about West Ham's injury news going well for them. Tottenham might have Harry Kane back.
Yeah, well, he's back in full training. Whether they start him, not so sure, because we've spoke about it earlier, but they've got Chelsea on the Wednesday, they've got Arsenal on the Saturday, and then they go away to Dortmund. So I think that it would be unlikely that Pochettino would start him, but he just gives the team a whole boost. You just know he's on the bench. I think Tottenham probably will win. I was looking maybe at Spurs to win by exactly 1 goal. They haven't been doing it particularly pretty, a lot of their wins lately, but they have won 11 of their 13 away games, which is absolutely brilliant, and they've won all 14 against teams currently in the bottom half. But Burnley probably in their best form of the season, 7 unbeaten. That does include a draw against Manchester United in terms of the Premier League, but they just lack quality. It's quite remarkable how they are so plucky, but I think Tottenham will eventually find a way through.
Tottenham will be way too good for them, aren't they? James, come on, put your Arsenal leanings to one side here.
Yeah, I think Tottenham, that away record, 11 wins in 13 is superb. I like the look of a Tottenham win and both teams to score, actually. I think Burnley's goal scoring is still being a bit underrated. People can't quite see how the team does score goals, but they lost 1-0 at Wembley in the reverse fixture. Since then, they've scored in 8 of their 9 games. Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes have got 6 goals in their last 3 games playing together. So I think they can land a blow, but as Mark's mentioned, kind of Spurs have been grinding out these wins. They conceded in wins at Brighton, Newcastle, 2-1 at Fulham, obviously with a very late goal. So you'd expect them to find a way, particularly with Kane possibly coming off the bench. But so Tottenham win and both teams to score 23-10.
Is actually Barnes the worst striker in the Premier
League? He probably
League?
is.
I mean, he's.
I remember talking to a Brighton fan years ago who was just saying he's just a terrible player. When Brighton were in League One or something, I don't know. But
He always looks a threat. He always looks a threat to me.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it. I honestly don't know how Dyche does it. It's just incredible. They get points, and every time you look at them, they're never remotely impressive, are they? It's just extraordinary. Fair play to him. Right then, traditionalists will have a heart attack because there's only 2 3 p.m. Saturday games, so let's rattle through them. We'll start with Bournemouth versus Wolves, and Mal, give us the latest.
Bournemouth are 9-5 at home. The draw is 21-10, and Wolves are 6-4. And I've gone for I think this is a difficult game to call. I haven't really looked at it much. I've just gone for both teams to score at 4-5. I think there's been plenty of goals in both these sides' fixtures, so keep it simple.
What about you, Mark?
Wolves draw no bet. No Wilson and Brooks, I think, is. I'm not expecting either of them to be back yet, so I think that's a big blow for the way that Bournemouth play. In the reverse fixture, they had 62% possession, but just got done on the counter, and that was at Molineux. I think the same may happen again.
Okay, and James?
Yeah, I like Wolves in this one. I mean, Bournemouth had that 4-0 win over Chelsea, but they followed that up with really poor performances away at Cardiff and Liverpool, losing both of those. And as Mark mentioned, Brooks and Wilson out. And Wolves, the gap's 6 points at the moment between them two, and I expect that to be wider by the end of the season.
This is exactly the sort of game that Wolves, that Bournemouth are tailor-made for them. If this is boxing, the Bournemouth are a come-forward, chinny sort of opponent. Wolverhampton will just sit there, pick their punches and just pick them off. It's so easy this week. Newcastle versus Huddersfield. I'll give you a clue before you give the prices, Mal. There won't be many goals in this. How do you bet?
Newcastle are 5-6 favs at home. The draw is 9-4, and Huddersfield are 7-2.
Go on then, Mal.
Interesting enough, I'm pro Benitez but anti Newcastle. I think plenty of other people might be as well. But I just think there is a little bit of a thing where teams kind of admit defeat, really, and Huddersfield are relegated at this stage. They're not going to stay up, so in some aspects the pressure might be off a little bit. So I've actually gone for Huddersfield to win this one, which I think is bizarre myself, but I'm happy enough to back them around the 7-2, 4-1 mark.
Okay, Mark?
No, I mean, I hear what Mel's saying, and actually I mean, Huddersfield are a team in sort of years gone past when expected goals weren't such a big thing. I mean, they'd probably be a massive price to win this game, but because they're competitive on expected goals, I think they're seen as the unluckiest team in the league. They should have about 10 points more. That actually means that you're getting decent prices to back against them every week. And Newcastle have done pretty well recently. You have a look at their defeats. It's come against Liverpool, United, Spurs and Chelsea, but they've beaten Cardiff 3-0, Bournemouth, Watford, Man City in terms of the Premier League. So I'm happy to take them a shade of odds on here. I mean, this is a huge game for Newcastle, one they will have targeted, just like the Cardiff game, and they won that one easy enough.
And James.
Yeah, I mean, I think Newcastle should be pretty happy with where they are on the table, given the fixtures they've got to come. I was looking, their last 12 games, only 2 are against teams in the top 8, 6 are against teams in the bottom 8. So, you think, they're obviously not taking anything for granted, but I think they can claim another 3 points here. I like the look of 2-0 Newcastle, 13-2. We've spoken about Huddersfield's lack of quality up front, as Mark mentioned. They're creating chances, but you can't be unlucky for that long. It is just down to a lack of quality in front of goal.
I'll tell you what Mal says there about being pro Benitez. He's too good for them, isn't he? He's still a brilliant manager. I just don't know why he's still putting himself through it. I really don't. He could do so much better. He really.
I'd wonder if he sees it as a free hit. Nobody blames him if it goes wrong, and he's maybe just I mean, Everton would be if he didn't have the Liverpool connection. Everton would be the perfect job for him. There's money, they want to be a big club. There's potential to be a bigger club, but
he just won't do it.
He can't do it. So,
but is he going slightly out of fashion, Mark? While he's not stagnating at Newcastle, but he's doing a fantastic job, isn't he?
I don't think. I mean, I don't think he is. I mean, I still think he'd be
in demand.
He'd be in demand. Maybe Leicester. Is another team where there is potential there.
Let's talk about Leicester now, because at 5:30 they receive Crystal Palace in front of the BT Sport cameras and in front of me. I'm going to Leicester, never been before. Very much looking forward to it. Let's see whether I'll be getting that train home. Disappointed or elated? What's the latest betting, Mal?
Leicester 11-10 favs at home. The draw is 23-10, and Palace are 12-5.
Okay, Mark, what do you make of this one?
No, I found this one the hardest.
It's hard, isn't it?
One to call. I've gone for both teams to score. I thought was going to be shorter, because Leicester are joint third best in the sort of both teams to score Premier League stakes, and Palace have had 8 BTTS away from home, and Palace with Benteke and Batshuayi and Zaha's back from suspension. They've got attacking weapons now. Leicester played so well against Tottenham. I don't know how they didn't win the game. Never mind, they've ended up on the end of a 3-1. They had that 4-4 against Wolves recently. I think Tielemans is already making a difference, forward passing from midfield, and Harvey Barnes would be my first goal scorer pick. I mean, he missed 2.
Good, doesn't he?
He does. I mean, he missed 2. Two absolute sitters against Spurs. They weren't even half chances. They were absolutely golden ones that he somehow missed. But you keep getting into those positions, eventually it'll drop. So I think this will be a good game for you to watch, Bruce. Not sure about the result though.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I must say, no end. James.
Yeah, I'm really keen on both teams to score in this one. I mean, Palace, 2/3 of their league goals have come away from Selhurst this season. They've only failed to score in 2 of their 13 away games. And as Mark's mentioned, Leicester's recent results don't look good, but they've been playing really well. Obviously, got a point at Liverpool as well. Played very well against Tottenham. Lost 4-3 to Wolves, and I think full of goals, and I think Palace should be a threat as well.
Jolly good. And Mal, what's your big match verdict?
Yeah, similar sentiment to the lads. I was over 2.5 goals was mine at 6-5. But Leicester's expected goals in a lot of the recent games. They've actually been unlucky in some of the matches, like the 3-1 loss to Spurs and even the 1-0 loss to United. And they were quite good against Liverpool as well. So I think they're both capable of scoring. I think Palace are well fit for them as well. So I don't know. I've gone for over 2.5 goals, but I wouldn't have a massive opinion on this game.
Over 2.5 is odds against, is it?
Over 2.5 goals, yeah, 6-5.
And how are you betting on the old BTTS? Yes.
Both teams to score, yes, is a shade of odds on at 17-20.
That'll do you, won't it, lads?
Yeah, it's fair enough, I think. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's do Sunday next.
Friends, or maybe more. Earn a 20 quid free bet for every friend you refer to Paddy Power, thanks to our Friends with Benefits programme. Log into your Paddy Power account and share your referral link to get started. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post Weekend Postcast. It's Bruce Millington, Mark Langdon, James Milton and Paddy Powers, Mal Rooney. 2 Premier League games and the EFL Cup final make for a super Sunday. We'll start with the non-televised affair at the Emirates. Arsenal versus Southampton. Mal, how do Paddy Power bet?
So Arsenal are strong favourites here at 4-9. The draw is 10-3 and Southampton are 11-2.
Let's do both teams. No, they played for both clubs.
Played for both clubs.
There's loads. Callum Chambers, Theo Walcott,
Chamberlain.
The Ox.
The Ox. There's plenty.
Neil Heaney.
Neil Heaney.
Early 90s.
If you were doing pointless on
that'd
for
be
both clubs, Neil Heaney wins it. That is absolutely superb.
That is a good shout.
Did Ray Kennedy have a spell at Southampton? I'm not sure. I might have a Google that while the boys are telling me what will happen. Arsenal, Southampton, Mark.
I wouldn't be backing Arsenal. I think could be a lay here, so Southampton draw, double chance. I mean, Southampton are in the relegation zone, but they're only defeating 6. Was that one against Cardiff when they didn't deserve to lose, and that has really set them back actually in terms of like their season. But I think they're playing pretty well. There's much more attacking intent to them. Both teams to score landed in 9 of their last 10. Arsenal have got this big game against Bate Borisov on Thursday. We're speaking before that, but I'm expecting most of the big guns are going to have to play. So maybe a small lay of Arsenal. Southampton went to Chelsea when Chelsea were playing better and got a draw. So why can't they do the same at the Emirates?
Okay, Ray Kennedy didn't play for Southampton. James, you going to this one?
No, I'm not. I am in the office on Sunday.
Oh dear. Do you think you'll miss out on a resounding Arsenal win?
I'm not confident actually. I mean, Arsenal on paper look like a relentless winning machine in these kind of fixtures. They've taken 28 points from a possible 30 against teams below them at home, but it's never felt quite that comfortable. And I think with the Europa League game, Southampton are scoring goals. I mean, in the reverse fixture, Arsenal lost 3-2. 3 headed goals from Ings and Austin. So I think Southampton know that's the vulnerability. I maybe go Arsenal to win 2-1 on the correct score, but I don't think it will be comfortable for them.
Mark, were you listening intently to every word James was saying, or thinking if they played for both clubs?
Did Glenn Helder play for Southampton? I don't know why I think that, but he probably didn't. I feel like there's some really average wingers that have played for Southampton after the sort of Arsenal best days are behind them. I didn't.
Paul Dickov, did he go to Southampton?
I didn't hear a word.
No, he missed a penalty for Arsenal against Southampton.
I've no idea what James just said. I am thinking.
No, I thought we'd be flowing. I thought we'd have loads.
We've really
hit the buffers quite early, haven't we? Mal, what have you got for us by way of a selection for Arsenal, Southampton?
Yeah, I think Arsenal are a mixed bag as well in the form book. I mean, every time they have a really good result, to follow up with a poor one. Also, I'd be a little bit apprehensive of the fact that they have a Europa League game tonight. Teams generally can play poor or have a poor record at the weekend after playing in Europe. So I'd be slightly anti them at the price. I couldn't see me backing them. I've gone on a bit of a pro Southampton bet would be Nathan Redmond to score any time. He's around the 7-2, 4-1 mark. He's 5 goals in his last 10 games, and I think Arsenal will give up chances. I'd say there'll be a couple of goals. Arsenal probably will win, but I wouldn't be backing them. But Redmond's probably worth a go at 7-2.
You've been bigging up Redmond for...
Yeah, I think that he's revelling in sort of playing in a Southampton team that's got an idea on how to play now. It's been a long time since I had that.
Oh, I had one there. 2:05, the game of the weekend. Man U versus Liverpool, live on Sky Sports. This could be massive in terms of deciding where the title ends up. And how do Paddy Power bet, Mal?
Man United are 2-1 at home. The draw is 12-5, and Liverpool are 13-10 favs.
This is another easy one. You cannot possibly tip Liverpool. You can't tip Liverpool. Who are you tipping, Mark?
No, not Liverpool. I was going to go for the draw. I think home advantage is absolutely massive in this fixture. Liverpool have only won 1 in 12 at Old Trafford, and United have tended to struggle at Anfield. United clearly, are a better team now than they were when they were absolutely humiliated. Really, it was Mourinho's last stand, wasn't it? And you can't keep being like, they've won at Tottenham, they've won at Arsenal, they've won at Chelsea. They were outclassed by Paris Saint-Germain, but I still feel like the injuries had a big impact on them in terms of how they sort of set up and then tried to sort it out after Martial and Lingard got injured. As far as Liverpool go, I mean, they're a difficult team to put away. Man City, managed it, but not too many others have. And actually, that game against Bayern, the XG for Liverpool was over 2. So they created, I mean, Mane missed an absolute sitter from 6 yards out.
No one commented on that because they're too busy going, oh, was it a handball? Was it a handball?
Really,
this is where we're at these days, isn't it? They're not actually talking about the action. They're just getting all excited about the possibility.
That counts as a huge chance, 6 yards out in middle of the goal. I mean,
he had to sort his feet out.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the XG factors in too much for sorting your feet out. I felt like they played okay, Liverpool, in that game against Bayern, but it just
shit second half, wasn't it? So disappointing.
Yeah, but I think that's what happens when James was talking about the 0-0s.
Yeah.
I think once it gets to 60, 65 minutes, the home team, they do become a bit wary. Actually, Atletico didn't. They went for it, but I can understand why they felt, okay, well, 0-0's not a disaster. I mean, Liverpool are better than Manchester United, but home advantage negates that, and this could be a really tight game. I wouldn't be expecting too many goals.
You're going to draw?
Yeah, I think it could be a really low-scoring tight game.
How about you, James?
Yeah, United draw no bet. I think, over the course of the season we've seen Liverpool are the superior side, but you can't ignore what United have been doing under Solskjaer, and particularly having had that first setback against PSG, then to come back with the cup win at Chelsea was impressive. And Liverpool have been pretty patchy away from home in big games. Obviously lost at City, and they've had the draw at West Ham as well, and then the Champions League they lose all 3 away.
They barely had a shot. Yeah.
So that would be a question mark, particularly looking at Liverpool going off as favourites at Old Trafford. So yeah, United draw no bet for me.
Isn't that Man U song, the Stone Roses one, good?
Ollie's at the wheel.
Yeah,
it's quite good.
It's got a great lyric. It says, "We've got Sanchez, Lukaku, and Fred." Marcus Rashford's a Manc born and bred. It's absolutely brilliant, I've got to say. They've got the most complicated songs, Man United. When I was up there for the Palace game, they must have choir practice Tuesday night. It's honestly, the intricacy of the lyrics is great. Mal, who do you fancy here?
I've gone for a different look at it. I've actually gone for the overs. And my thinking behind that is, since Mourinho has left and Solskjaer's come in and United have done so well and Pogba's back to his best and etc., a large part of that has been because of the freedom of attacking play that United have. So I don't think it's any secret that their best players are all their attacking players. I think when it comes down to it, they play their best football going forward. I don't think they're great at sitting back trying to soak up pressure or anything like that. Liverpool will try and dictate a lot of the ball. Liverpool also obviously are so attacking as well. I don't see any other way that both teams are going to approach the game other than to both attack from the off. I can understand what Mark's saying, and generally in games where there's so much at stake, and especially in big rivalries and big derbies, teams are generally a bit cagier. I think if United approach it like that, it'll cost them the match. So I just think that they're going to go for from the get-go. So I've actually gone over 2.5 at 4-5. And one of the other kind of prop bets that one of the lads pointed out would be if Fabinho is tasked with a man-marking job on Pogba, which he could well be, but I'd wait for the teams to come out, there's around 15-8, 2-1 on him picking up a card, which would definitely be worth a bet as well.
Okay, interesting stuff. Thank you very much. And at 4:30 we've got the EFL Cup final. Why don't they call it Carabao Cup final? They're not sponsoring anymore.
They are.
So why don't they get a mention?
Well, you just have. I mean,
I don't know. What is Carabao?
It's an energy drink.
Is
I thought it was a kind of elk.
An elk?
Yeah. It's very much I think it's quite big in the Far East, I think.
Is it?
Yeah, the Racing Post boxing man, Dan Williams, drank a lot of it in Thailand, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Among
That was probably the cleanest thing that entered his body during that holiday. God. Oh, the mind boggles. Anyway, it's Chelsea, Man City, and obviously Man City, very strong favourites. Just how strong are they, Mal?
Yeah, so Man City are clear favourites here at 1-2 in the match betting. The draw is 16-5, and Chelsea are underdogs at 9-2. And then to lift the trophy, Man City are 2-7, and Chelsea are 27-10.
I'll tell you what, James, at the start of the season, if you'd said Man City playing Chelsea and in a one-off at a neutral venue, and Man City are 2-7 to win, you'd be like, blimey, what happened to Chelsea during the season? So, has the market gone too far against Chelsea here?
I couldn't really argue with it actually. The bet I like is, we saw City absolutely fly out the traps in this league fixture, 4-0 up inside 25 minutes, and they're kind of around 6-4, the City double result again, and they have just been blowing teams away early on. They've actually scored the first goal in their last 18 games in all competitions, and I just can't really see how Chelsea can staunch the flow early doors. I mean, this time last year, City were up against an Arsenal side who were coming into it in pretty similar form to Chelsea. They were ahead in 18 minutes, went on to win 3-0, and it could be a very similar script, I think, this season.
Mal, do you see any way for Chelsea to cause an upset here?
No, I don't. I don't think they'll get hockeyed as much as they did in the league game recently, but I still think City will win this one comfortably. I've gone for Man City -1 on the Asian handicap, but even so, to win by a goal, you get your money back. But I just don't see them not winning in 90 minutes. Like, City are completely on the up from the Christmas period. They're playing great football, with the exception possibly of last night. But Chelsea are a mess. I mean, Chelsea could go out in any game against any team and lose, even regardless of the price. So, I mean, I think this could be the final hurrah for Sarri. I think it could get ugly enough if they're not playing well. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Chelsea fans booing and stuff if it's anywhere near what happened in the league fixture. But I don't see any way that City don't win this game in 90 minutes.
Okay, and Mark, final word to you.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't back City at the prices. I mean, there was a drift on City to win the game against Chelsea at the Etihad. So in terms of the prices, they're going off about the same without home advantage. And I think that those that follow the Asian money extremely closely and don't even look at the teams, I think they probably will look to just take on City and just hope it's that in poker when you make the value call, even if you think you're beat. And I was tempted to lay Man City, and I just keep looking at it and thinking, again, like Mal was saying, I'm not sure how they stop them. Yeah, I just don't know how they actually do stop them. I think the best bet here is Sergio Aguero each way, 100-30 to score first. James was saying about how City have been starting quickly. Obviously, that plays into the hands. Chelsea have been horrendously bad starters in these big matches. Had Aguero been playing at Stamford Bridge, I think that Chelsea would have been behind by the time they took the lead, because City created chances, just couldn't take them. He got the hat-trick in the league game. He's got 15 in 18 against Chelsea. He's in great nick anyway, and I think if City create as many chances as what I expect, he's the man most likely.
Mark, just quickly tell me about De Bruyne and how you assess his form, because Man City having this spectacular season, you would have expected De Bruyne to have been at the vanguard of it. I know he's been injured for some of it, but even since his comeback, has he looked quite the same player?
I thought he was great against Chelsea, and not in the other games. I thought Chelsea was easily his best game. He played in a position where he played in behind, I can't remember, was it Kovacic or Barkley? They've just merged into one player. Whoever started in that game and then got taken off, no doubt. Whoever started in that kind of left central midfield position, he just played behind them, and Alonso didn't know whether to go and close him down, and the midfielder didn't know, and he caused havoc in that game. But I agree that his general form hasn't quite been of the standard. Maybe it's still to come, but he's not like he's not the player now that City look to, is he? I mean, Bernardo's probably taken up as much responsibility as anybody else during that time.
Did you hear Pep talking about Bernardo the other day? It's virtually like he wanted to propose to him.
He does talk. I mean, I remember when he used to say, like, I need a team of Dantes at Bayern Munich, and, Rafinha's the first name on the team sheet. He has these weird things where he just lies quite often about sort of who's the most important player.
Okie doke. Right, thank you very much, chaps. Let's get the naps.
This will not be beaten.
Because I'm giving it the big one, I better go first. I could have napped any one of these teams. Tottenham will win, Wolves will win, it'll be under at Newcastle. Don't know about Leicester Palace. Arsenal will win, Man United draw no bet, that will win. Watford draw no bet will win. But I'm going to go with West Ham at 2-1 -1 goal. So they've got to win by 2 or more. They, I think, will comfortably do that against woeful Fulham. Mark, what's your nap?
I'm going to League 2, and it's Bury to beat Paul Scholes' Oldham.
Bury are getting on my nerves. I've had this massive, great multiple bet, and I've got Lincoln and Mansfield in that division. Bury are a massive splinter.
They are. They are one of the best teams in the division, no doubt about that. I just wonder if there's a little bit of Paul Scholes factor in some of Oldham's prices. The performances don't seem to have changed. They drew against Crewe. They were then beaten for the first time as well under Scholes. I wouldn't be too convinced that he's going to turn out to be a great manager. He seems to have got the job on the basis that he supports Oldham.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going for Bury.
To beat him, yeah.
James?
I'm going for Blackpool at home to Oxford in League One. Unbeaten in 8 league games, beaten Portsmouth, drawn with Sunderland recently. And Oxford are winless away from home all season and lost at Accrington in midweek.
And our boy Nia Kirby is playing very well for Blackpool, apparently, on loan. Good young player. Mal, what's your nap?
You robbed mine, actually, which is West Ham. So I'll drop down to the Championship and I'll go with Norwich to beat Bristol City at home.
Oh, that's some game. Let's talk about that, because Bristol City are flying, aren't they?
Yeah, which is probably why Norwich is such a big price. But having talking to two of the lads that both priced it independently today, they still think Norwich should be shorter now. They make them closer to maybe 190 to win the game. You can get odds against on them. So they do fancy them with the price, and they think they're going to shorten up before the match.
What do you make of Bristol City's run, Mark?
Unsustainable, I think. I've spoken about this before. Lee Johnson has these weird runs where his teams win 10 on the row and then lose 8 in a row, and it worries me that sort of there's a coach that clearly got ability, but something. He shouldn't be able to go on these weird lows that he goes on.
If you look on, on Soccer Base, you've got the list of results, and you've got like a column for win, a column for draw, and a column for loss. It's incredible the sequences they go with. If you back them to have the same result as their previous game this season, you'd have only lost about 6 times.
It's not only at Bristol City. He's had it wherever he's been. It's very odd. I don't understand it. But there must be something in it for it to keep on happening. Norwich, I hope they don't win the Championship, because I am against them with a couple of teams, but they are going along quite nicely. Could do with maybe a draw in this one.
Quickly tell me who wins the Championship, each of you. James Milton.
I'm hoping that West Brom can do it.
Okay, Mark.
I think Sheffield United. That's a big game as well. West Brom, Sheffield on Saturday.
And Mal, who do you think wins the Championship?
Leeds, I think, are going to do it.
Leeds. It's really fascinating. I'm really enjoying that division. It's absolutely excellent. Okay, Mark, weekend plans. Which game are you taking in?
Oh, it's a really big one in League One. Portsmouth against Barnsley off Stratton. So Portsmouth completely gone off the boil in recent weeks. So they need to win this game.
Have you been to Fratton before?
I have,
I've
yeah.
never been. I fancy it. It looks like a sort of raw kind of, outpost of English football.
I mean, raw would be a good description of it. Raw and rough. But at the same time, I mean, always, a really good noisy crowd. And I think Barnsley are taking a couple of thousand as well, so it should be a really good game.
Cool, blimey, alrighty, that'll be excellent. James, what are you going to do this weekend?
I am beavering away in the office.
Both days?
Both days, yeah.
Oh, blimey, unlucky. And what about you, Mel?
I'm off early on Saturday and I'm off Sunday and Monday, so it'll be a long weekend in the pub for me.
Well, are you not taking it, because you're a AC Milan fan, aren't you? You don't fancy, who have they got this weekend?
It was on Friday night against Empoli, so get that 3 points in the bag before the weekend and then out in the beer. Okay, thank you very much, chaps. Don't forget, if you enjoy these shows, please do make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you are listening. More great podcasts coming up. Stuart Riley hosts the weekend racing preview. We've got Newcastle, we've got Kempton, Maddie and the gang back on Monday, Cheltenham Anti-Post Tuesday, Steve Palmer, Ian McLaughlin and myself on Wednesday, and then we've got another Racing Post weekend football postcast next Thursday.
Everything is better when it's bigger. Paddy Power's Same Game Multi allows you to combine a number of selections from a single match into one big bet. Check out the Same Game Multi tab and get building your bet. Terms and conditions apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.